I think there was such an absolutely massive partnership that happened to Quant not too long ago, and let me explain what it is, even though nothing I say is financial advice. So, did you know, not that long ago, Quant had a strategic quote unquote partnership with something called Murex, right? Now, what is Murex? It's spelled like Murex, but besides that point, though, the reason why this is so massive, in my opinion, is because literally Murex has a platform, right, called MX3. Now, the thing is this, allegedly, from what I can see, 65 out of the top 100 banks, or global banks, I should say, run MX3. So again, if Quant has a partnership with something like Murex, and Murex literally has a platform that 65 out of the top 100 global banks allegedly use, again, it's called MX3, supposedly, isn't that an absolutely massive partnership when it comes to Quant? Keep in mind, Quant, in and of itself, is not even a top 50 project within this space in terms of market cap. It just isn't, right? So, not that long ago, seeing something like that happen when it comes to Quant, I think it's a major victory. Fundamentally speaking, of course, I mean, it didn't do much to the price of Quant, but I'm saying, in terms of the actual fundamentals, a big milestone, a big achievement, and I think it's a massive partnership at the end of the day because it's probably not that easy, right, to have a partnership with something that massive. Again, in the case of Murex. So when I take a look at Quant right there, I think that showcases their dedication, their effort, and just kind of the energy that they're putting in, right? Because other projects out there, they're beginning to slow down. They're not trying to ramp up their partnerships. They're not looking for new partnerships. That's completely out of the question for a lot of projects out there simply because I think a lot of them just can't, right? Imagine right now, the market's down, things are not doing the best, a lot of projects are having a pullback. That's like a time when a lot of projects out there have like thin liquidity and also on top of that, just don't have much capital anymore. But at a time like this, Quant still, having new partnerships and all this type of stuff, I think that showcases that they handled things properly, right? Some other projects out there, they were not necessarily wise with their resources. So when the market had a pullback, they kind of had no solutions, right? Again, they probably didn't think that a pullback like this would happen. So a lot of them have this, I guess, set amount of expenses, upkeep, and then what happens if the market's no longer good and the upkeep and the expenses stays the same? Sometimes it's game, set, match. Sometimes it's game over. I mean, we've seen some projects out there just completely in a, I guess, way shut down, right? Where they're just like announcing how they're stopping operations, basically. I mean, the token is still around in some cases, of course, but the project in and of itself, there's no more in some cases that I do see, which is sometimes unfortunate, but that's the reality of this space in a lot of cases where some projects out there, let's say, don't really, I guess, manage things properly. But even besides that point, Quant still doing something like this, I think it showcases, the effort and the dedication, and again, just the energy and resources that they put in towards something like this. So when I take a look at Quant, again, making big moves in terms of its fundamentals, but really not much when it comes to the price. But it's not only just Quant having a pullback, right? I mean, a bunch of projects are having a pullback. Take a look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all this. So what? Bitcoin and Ethereum is going to have a pullback like that. The space overall is going to have a pullback, and then Quant is just what, going to randomly go on a rally of its own? No way. It's not a microcap. It's going to be very difficult for that to happen when it comes to Quant. I mean, again, Quant is not a top 50 project, but it's at least top 60. I mean, it's 57th in the world as of right now in terms of market cap. So when I take a look at Quant, I just still like it overall. Granted, it's well below $100, which, again, clearly it's not the best. It's around $70 actually as of right now, but keep in mind, right, back in December 2024, we're talking about slightly over a year ago, we saw Quant at around $140. So it's not like Quant is so doomed like that. I don't think about it that way. I mean, Quant is just basically around 2 times lower than where it was slightly over a year ago, which again may not sound like a good thing, but it's not like so, I think, like much where other projects out there are down like 95%, 98% from where they were just slightly over a year ago. Granted, though, again, still not doing the best when it comes to Quant, but if Quant could just go back to December of 2024 levels, basically, I mean, again, we're around 2 times lower than that. Like, I'm not going to complain if that happens. I mean, would I like an altcoin season? Of course, but if Quant could just go back to around $140, I have like zero complaints, especially from right now. But this is just the way to take a look at it. But also, I'm dollar cost averaging once a month. So again, if things could go back to that point, anything I dollar cost average now, basically, if it just goes back to that point, again, we're around 2 times lower than that. But besides that point, though, when I take a look at Quant overall, people like to tell me that, oh, why would anyone care about Quant? It sucks. But I don't agree with that actually, because if I take a look at the core, I think, principle when it comes to Quant, right? I think that basically the way I take a look at it, even though this is just purely my perception, I feel like it's gonna potentially maybe help developers build apps moving forward. Now, why does this matter? In a sense, right? Because there is going to be more developers, in my opinion, naturally, if the space were to grow, and a lot of them, I'm assuming, want to build apps. So why would that be a bad thing when it comes to Quant? If there's more of what it's trying to help, I don't see why it's a bad thing. Now, why do I even think Quant is trying to help developers quite essentially make building apps easier? Let me explain what I mean by this, right? The Quant network, it's made up of the Overledger OS and the Overledger network. But since the Overledger network is made up of the Overledger OS users, I'm going to skip that part and just talk about the Overledger OS, because the Overledger OS allows something called a multi-chain application to be built. An application that is basically, the way you take a look at it, it's not built on only just one blockchain. Basically, it's built on top of multiple blockchains, right? Hence the name multi-chain applications. Why could this matter to a developer, let's say? Because if a developer, let's say, has to only be stuck building on only one blockchain, that might cause some issues, because who knows, right? Maybe they don't like a certain aspect of this blockchain, but then they can't really do anything about it because they're stuck with that. But again, that's where the Overledger OS, I think, kind of steps in, because imagine if I could build a application, right, that takes advantage of the speed of the Stellar blockchain and also at the same time taking advantage of the strength of the Bitcoin blockchain. That'd be a pretty amazing game changer, in my opinion. So the Overledger OS, again, literally, allegedly allows for something like that. And the thing is, wouldn't that indirectly mean that somewhat of the core mission of that is to help, developers build apps, right, in an easier way? That's the way you take a look at it. So I just don't view Quant as a fundamentally, broken project where the fundamentals just don't make sense. I don't think about it that way. Some other projects out there, it feels like the fundamentals are just all over the place. It just doesn't feel like it was very well thought out. It just kind of felt like it was put together like that and that was it. But Quant doesn't give me that vibe. I mean, I still like it overall, and I just don't see why it's a bad project to me. This is the way to take a look at it. I mean, sure, Quant, it doesn't have the best amount of holders out there. It's around 160,000 basically. So what I'm experiencing right now is basically alongside around 160,000 other individuals. Like, okay, sure, that's probably not the most out there, but if over 160,000 individuals haven't given up, I just don't know why I would. Because first of all, I don't see a reason for me to exit as of right now. I mean, I could, in theory, I don't have to hold this, but why would I do that? Like, for what? Just because it's low? Like, why? Like, if I did something like that, I'd literally just, lock in all of the downwards movements that I've seen so far. I don't know why I would do that. I feel like it's a little bit unrealized for me anyways. But besides that point though, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but I am still dollar cost averaging only once a month. But again, that's what I'm doing, right? However, I thought the recent partnership when it comes to Quant was pretty spectacular. So of course, naturally, I wanted to make a video on it. However, I'll be sure to make more moving forward, hopefully, if there are any, kind of updates that happen when it comes to Quant. So again, hopefully I'll stay tuned for that. It's Lee the Captain. I'm on peace. Bye.